Test.com's NCE Practice Test. For complete practice, try our full-length 800-question NCE Practice Exams Plus, including online flashcards, exam review, and a 50-state guide. Human growth and development. Question 1. According to Piaget's stages of moral judgment, a child younger than age 10 will think which of the following is worse? A. Someone who is trying to help his mother set the table and broke 5 dishes. B. Someone who was stealing a cookie from the cookie jar when he wasn't allowed and knocked over a cup that broke. C. Someone who did not control the dog who jumped up on the table and pulled down a glass full of water, which broke. D. Someone who accidentally dropped a dinner knife which could have hurt someone if they would have stepped on it. A. Someone who is trying to help his mother set the table and broke 5 dishes. Piaget saw moral judgment broken into 2 age brackets, below and above age 10. Those under age 10 tended to judge wrongdoings by the amount of damage caused rather than the intention behind the act. Hence, even though the person in answer A had the best intentions, he broke more dishes, and therefore is seen as more wrong. Since the person stealing only knocked over 1 cup, it is not viewed as bad as breaking 5 dishes. Question 2. How many stages are there of moral reasoning according to Kohlberg? A. 2. B. 6. C. 8, paralleling Erikson's stage of psychosocial development. D. None. Kohlberg's theory is on self-actualization. B. 6. Kohlberg's stages have 3 levels, pre-conventional, conventional, and post-conventional, and 6 stages. 1. Obedience and punishment orientation. 2. Individualism and exchange. 3. Good interpersonal relationships. 4. Maintaining the social order. 5. Social contract and individual rights. 6. Universal principles. Question 3. Which of the following is not a factor in the sleep patterns of adolescence? A. Biorhythm changes. B. Defiance. C. Increased need for sleep. D. Increased academic and social demands. B. Defiance. Teens require more sleep than the average adult due to their rapid growth. A teen's decreased sleep patterns do not generally stem from defiant behavior. Teens have biorhythm changes, making them more likely to stay up late and sleep later. They are inundated with academic and social demands, which may impair the amount or quality of their sleep. Question 4. A college student viewing a situation as good or bad or right or wrong is using A. Dualistic thinking. B. Pessimism. C. Relativistic thinking. D. Erroneous thinking. A. Dualistic thinking. Perry believed college students go through 4 stages of mental and moral development: dualism, multiplicity, relativism, and commitment. Dualistic thinking occurs in dualism when students believe every problem is solvable and they are to learn the right answers. Relativistic thinking is the belief that every issue must be evaluated because everything is contextual. Question 5. Which theorist believed in the zone of proximal development, ZPD? A. Piaget. B. Kohlberg. C. Vygotsky. D. Erikson. C. Vygotsky. Vygotsky believed the potential for cognitive development depended on the ZPD, which was a level of development attained when children engage in social interactions. When the social interaction is guided by an adult or collaborated with peers, the ZPD exceeds what one could achieve individually. Kohlberg is known for his work with moral development. Piaget is known for his theory of cognitive development in children, and Erikson for his 8 stages of psychosocial development. Question 6. When present in females, the Oedipus complex is referred to as the A. Electra complex, B. Feelings of reciprocity, C. Electric complex, D. Oedipus complex. A. Electra complex. Freud described the Oedipus complex as a stage when a boy develops feelings of desire for his mother and has feelings of anger and jealousy toward his father. The Electra complex is when a girl develops feelings of desire for her father and has feelings of anger and jealousy toward her mother. Question 7. Kohlberg's theory of moral development has 3 progressive levels ending in A. Personhood, B. Sexual ambiguity, C. Principled thought, D. Self-realization. C. Principled thought. In Kohlberg's 3rd level, individuals do come to realize they are separate from their society, but this occurs in the 5th stage. Principled thought comes after moving through the 6th stage, which Kohlberg believed few people actually reached. Social and cultural foundations. Question 8. Cross-cultural counseling, A. Recognizes culture as a marginal factor in counseling, B. Recognizes culture as a fundamental factor in counseling, C. Is a consideration in some but not all counseling interventions, D. All of the above. B. Recognizes culture as a fundamental factor in counseling. Cross-cultural counseling recognizes culture as fundamental and central to all counseling relationships and interactions. In using this approach, clients will feel valued and the rapport between counselors and clients will strengthen. Question 9. Most behaviors are learned and displayed in a cultural context. True or false? True. While some behaviors are innate, like the rooting of an infant to bring his mouth close to whatever it is near in hopes of eating, or an infant's startle reflex when his arms outstretch with loud noises, most behaviors are learned within a cultural context. For instance, the handshake is generally a gesture from the Western culture. A man should never extend his hand to a woman of another culture unless she extends a hand first. Another example is that backslapping someone from Asia is considered aggressive. Signaling someone from an Asian culture to follow you or directing them with your index finger, a common gesture in America, is considered rude in these cultures. Same behavior, different cultures, which means they are learned. Question 10. Which of the following is true about counseling within a cultural context? A. Behaviors cannot be measured as accurately. B. Personal identity becomes more clearly defined. C. The consequences of problems are more ambiguous. D. Counseling interviews hold less meaning. B. Personal identity becomes more clearly defined. Personal identity becomes more clearly defined within a cultural context. Furthermore, behaviors are measured more accurately, consequences of problems are more obvious, and counseling interviews are more meaningful when held within a cultural context. When a counselor counsels within a cultural context, the clients will be able to relate to what the counselor is saying and will be able to view themselves and self-reflect. Question 11. In the United States, each socioeconomic group represents a different culture because they share A. Similar tastes in the arts, B. Educational levels, C. Interest in religion, D. Similar ideas, behaviors, and values. D. Similar ideas, behaviors, and values. Typically, members of each socioeconomic group share similar ideas, behaviors, and values, which fits the definition of culture. Question 12. Therapists adhering to which of the following theories would believe that aggression is learned through modeling? A. Social learning, B. Behavioral, C. Psychodynamic, D. Humanistic. A. Social learning. Albert Bandura demonstrated this with his famous Bobo doll experiments. children in the group who saw the adult treat the doll aggressively were much more aggressive in their own treatment of the doll. Behaviorists would believe aggression is learned through conditioning. Psychodynamic followers would explain aggression as an instinct, thanatos. The humanistic explanation is that aggression is caused by unmet needs. Fundamentals of counseling, helping relationships, clinical and programmatic interventions. Question 13. Which is true about Freud's idea of the preconscious mind? A. It contains only hidden or forgotten memories. B. It contains only what is happening in the present. C. It's our mind's state before we're born. D. It contains both hidden memories and what is happening. D. It contains both hidden memories and what is happening. The preconscious mind contains elements from both the unconscious and the conscious minds. The unconscious mind contains hidden or forgotten memories, and the conscious mind contains what is happening in the present. Question 14. Nathan has been working on cutting down on drinking. He tells you he passed a state store and found my car pulling itself into the lot. He denies giving much conscious thought to it. Nathan is describing the workings of A. The superego, B. The id, C. The ego, D. The conscious mind. B. The id. According to Freud, the id is present at birth and is part of the unconscious. It is impulsive, not rational, and moves towards pleasure and away from pain. The superego is made up of the conscience and the ideal self and incorporates society's values and norms. The ego uses a rational process to solve problems and meet the id's demands while satisfying the superego. Question 15. Blank results when ideal standards are violated. According to Freud, this is a function of the blank. A. Guilt, ego. B. Anger, ego. C. Guilt, superego. D. Shame, id. C. Guilt, superego. The superego sets ideal standards and guilt results when we violate them. Question 16. A counselor sets her monthly fees for consultation on a job-by-job basis. Which of the following reinforcement schedules is this an example of? A. Variable ratio. B. Fixed ratio. C. Fixed interval. D. Variable interval. A. Variable ratio. A variable ratio schedule is when a reward occurs after an unpredictable amount of responses and typically provides a high rate of response. The counselor's rate is unpredictable from one job to the next. A fixed ratio schedule occurs when a response is reinforced after a set number of responses. Fixed interval schedules reinforce the response only after a certain amount of time has passed. Variable interval schedules reinforce the response after an unpredictable amount of time has gone by. Question 17. Suppression and repression are different because A. Suppression is involuntary. B. Repression is involuntary. C. They are not different. D. Repression is voluntary. B. Repression is involuntary. In psychoanalysis, repression is when upsetting memories are kept out of the conscious mind. Throughout therapy, using free association, psychoanalysts try to help uncover repressed memories and feelings. Suppression is when a person knowingly tries not to think or feel a certain way. Question 18. When a client becomes aware of a factor in his or her life which they were previously unaware, counselors refer to it as A. Aha moment. B. Deeper understanding. C. Insight. D. Both A and C. D. Both A and C. Graham Wallace described the 4 stages of insight: preparation, incubation, flash of illumination, and verification. The term aha moment is also used to describe insights when things suddenly become clearer. Question 19. A counselor who chooses their theory and techniques in order to match the client's attributes, resources, and situation is called A. Eccentric, B. Eclectic, C. Holistic, D. Informal. B. Eclectic. The eclectic approach can be quite successful. Most counselors using this approach still adhere to one or two main counseling theories, but draw techniques from many different theories. A counselor using a holistic approach would consider the person as a whole, body, mind, emotions, spirit, rather than the separate parts when meeting with a client. Question 20. One of the first formal therapeutic groups was held by A. Joseph Pratt, B. Carl Rogers, C. Herb Yalom, D. Wilfred Bion. A. Joseph Pratt. In 1905, Joseph Pratt, a medical doctor from Boston, gathered a group of patients with tuberculosis in order to educate them. The rest are all group theorists of later years. Rogers is often referred to as the father of counseling psychology. Yalom developed a list of therapeutic factors in group therapy. Bion was a British psychoanalyst. Question 21. Of the following, which is not a curative factor of group as outlined by Yalom? A. Universality, B. Installation of hope, C. Intrapersonal learning, D. Group cohesiveness. C. Intrapersonal learning. Intrapersonal learning, not intrapersonal learning, is a curative factor. Interpersonal learning occurs when a person tries out new behaviors in group. Group is seen as a microcosm of the real world. Question 22. Jerry hears a fellow group member say, "I am really struggling with this divorce. I can't see my way to the other side sometimes. It seems like I'll never feel better." Jerry just experienced a relationship breakup himself, which spun him into a depression. Though the group member's situation is unfortunate, Jerry feels a little better hearing about it. Jerry is experiencing which curative factor of group therapy? A. Imitative behavior, B. Imparting information, C. Installation of hope, D. Universality. D. Universality. Jerry is experiencing universality when a member feels relief that they are not alone and that others share similar problems. He is not adapting another member's coping strategy, so it is not imitative behavior. Installation of hope creates a feeling of optimism, which is not mentioned. Question 23. What are the three levels of social groups? A. Primary, secondary, and tertiary. B. High, medium, and low. C. First, second, and third. D. Small, medium, and large. A. Primary, secondary, and tertiary. Charles Cooley first described social groups. Primary social groups share close, personal, and enduring relationships. Secondary groups are larger than primary groups, and relationships are goal-oriented, impersonal, and may be temporary. Tertiary groups are sometimes called reference groups and are any group which shapes one's attitude and behavior. Question 24. The fact that a group decision will be less conservative than a decision made by an individual can be explained by which of the following concepts? A. Bystander apathy, B. Risky shift phenomenon, C. Skepticism, D. Conditioning. B. Risky shift phenomenon. Risky shift phenomenon is part of social psychology and a form of group polarization. This is related to de-individuation, which occurs when a person in a group loses some of their self-identity, leading to a loss of restraint and self-awareness. Bystander apathy is another term from social psychology and occurs when individuals assume that, since there are other people around, someone else has already taken action to help. Question 25. Which is the correct order of Tucker and Jensen's stages of group development? A. Performing, forming, storming, norming, adjourning. B. Norming, forming, storming, performing, adjourning. C. Forming, storming, norming, performing, adjourning. D. Forming, norming, storming, performing, adjourning. C. Forming, storming, norming, performing, adjourning. Tucker and Jensen described 5 stages of group development. In the forming stage, the group is coming together and rules are being established. Group members are typically polite to each other. During the storming stage, challenges often arise. Group members may butt heads and test boundaries. In the norming stage, group members have developed a sense of unity and worked out their conflicts. They are also supportive of leadership. During the performing stage, the group is making progress toward their goals. Leaders are helping group members advance their skills and competencies. The adjourning stage is sometimes referred to as mourning, when a group is high-functioning and has developed a strong sense of unity. The inevitable end can seem bittersweet. For complete practice, try our full-length 800-question NCE Practice Exams Plus, including online flashcards, exam review, and a 50-state guide. Career and Lifestyle Development, Assessment and Career Counseling. Question 26. Which career theorist talked about life roles? A. Ginsberg. B. Holland. C. Parsons. D. Super. D. Super. Super talked about the life roles of child, student, homemaker, leisureite, citizen, and worker. Question 27. Holland's trait factor theory matched which of the following together? A. Gender traits with personality traits. B. Professional traits with earning power. C. Personality traits with job requirements. D. Personality traits with intelligence level. C. Personality traits with job requirements. Holland matched individual traits with environment traits. Question 28. Jeremy, during intake, told you that he really enjoys his job as a watch repairman. His strong interest inventory would probably indicate a high score in which of the following? A. Investigative. B. Conventional. C. Realistic. D. Social. C. Realistic. Those who score high in the realistic category enjoy working with machines. They are doers. Those who have high scores for investigative are thinkers, conventional are organizers, and social are helpers. Question 29. A counselor has designed his career counseling group in such a way that it presents a field and levels approach to careers. Whose theory is he following? A. Holland. B. Super. C. Tiedemann. D. Rowe. D. Rowe. Rowe's theory consists of 8 fields: service, business contact, organization, technology, outdoor, science, general culture, and arts and entertainment, and 6 levels: professional and managerial, levels 1 and 2, semi-professional and small business, level 3, skilled, level 4, semi-skilled, level 5, and unskilled, level 6. Holland created the Holland Codes: realistic, investigative, artistic, social, enterprising, and conventional. RIASEC. Super's theory of career development includes the concept of self-concept and 5 stages of career development: growth, exploration, establishment, maintenance, and decline. Question 30. What do dual career families often lack? A. Money. B. Health insurance. C. Leisure. D. Pets. C. Leisure. Dual career families are likely to have access to healthcare and money. However, because both adults in the household are working, they have less time for leisure. Instead of relaxing on evenings and weekends, they are often doing things to keep the household running, like chores or errands. Question 31. Developmental career theorists view career choice as A. Stable. B. fixed, C. ongoing, D. optimistic. C. ongoing. While this may not lead to an individual changing their career, developmental theorists believe that an individual's career choice is ongoing. It is a lifelong process where individuals search, evaluate, and process information about themselves and the world around them to figure out where they fit. Question 32. Which is not one of the original 3 stages of career development identified by Ginsberg and his associates? A. Exploratory, B. Fantasy, C. Tentative, D. Realistic. A. Exploratory. During childhood, individuals are in the fantasy stage. Through play and imagination, they experience many different careers. Once an individual reaches adolescence, he or she enters the tentative stage. This stage has 4 substages: interest, capacity, values, and transition. The realistic stage begins around age 17 and lasts through the early 20s. In this stage, the individual will engage in exploration, crystallization, and specification of a specific career. Later, Ginsberg changed his outlook and said that career choice is a lifelong process and does not end in the early 20s. Instead, people optimize. Question 33. This publication provides key information about a job, including training needed, salary, job outlook, etc. A. NBCC, B. ACA, C. ASCA, D. OOH. D. OOH. The Occupational Outlook Handbook, OOH, is published by the U.S. Department of Labor and contains statistics and information for hundreds of different jobs. NBCC stands for the National Board for Certified Counselors. ACA is the American Counseling Association. ASCA is the American School Counselor Association. Professional Counseling Orientation Ethics. Question 34. Your patient enters your session excited about the new age therapy you tried last session. She had brought in an article, and because of her enthusiasm and the fact that it did not require any new trading, you had agreed to give it a try. She asks you to continue during this session, but you have done your homework. It's proven ineffective and, in a select few clients, the condition was slightly worsened. You validate your patient, noting how glad you are that she's excited to try something new. Then you tell her that, unfortunately, you won't be able to continue with these types of treatments. With this act, you are expressing A. Anti-consumerism, B. Beneficence, C. Exploitation, D. Non-malfeasance. D. Non-malfeasance. Non-malfeasance is refraining from providing ineffective treatments or acting with malice towards a patient. Anti-consumerism is incorrect because it is not a therapeutic or ethical term. Beneficence is incorrect because it means that you take actions to benefit others. Exploitation is incorrect because it is a therapist's misuse of power to influence and exploit clients for their own benefit and to the client's detriment. Question 35. You have just launched a successful therapy group, and you want to promote it to engage new clients so they too can benefit. You have asked your current therapy clients to offer an anonymous testimonial, telling others how useful it has been. From an ethical standpoint, this is A. Prohibited under any circumstances, B. Allowed since it is a successful group that would benefit future clients that may join, C. Allowed only if they sign a voluntary testimonial release, D. Prohibited unless they sign a voluntary testimonial release, use a pseudonym, and do not provide a photo. A. Prohibited under any circumstances. The ACA Code of Ethics outlines that testimonials from clients, former clients, or any other person vulnerable to undue influence is prohibited. Question 36. You are a licensed professional counselor with a master's degree in counseling and a doctorate, PhD, in technology and operations management. On your appointment cards for clients, the most appropriate way to list yourself is A. Jane Doe, M.A., LPC. B. Dr. Jane Doe, LPC. C. Jane Doe, Ph.D. D. Dr. Jane Doe, Ph.D., LPC. A. Jane Doe, M.A., LPC. According to the ACA Code of Ethics, when acting in a counselor context, counselors may only use their highest degree earned in counseling and should not imply doctorate-level competence unless their doctorate degree is in a clinical or related field. Question 37. It is blank to administer a test to a client from a certain population when the test has not been normed to that population. A. Appropriate. B. Unethical. C. Illegal. D. Unfair. B. Unethical. If a test has not been normed to a certain population, it is unethical to administer it to a person from that population, and the client's results will not be accurate. Normed tests compare and rank the test takers in relation to one another. Question 38. Nosology, the process of formal diagnosis, is most closely related to A. Sampling. B. Individualized education plans, IEP. C. Psychoanalysis. D. The medical model. D. The medical model. The most recent revision helped align the DSM with the ICD-11, International Classification of Diseases. The DSM-5 provides researchers, clinicians, and health officials with a standard language to use when communicating about mental disorders. The ICD-11 is used by medical professionals to diagnose medical conditions. Most IEPs do contain a formal diagnosis, but the diagnosis is used to help guide what accommodations and modifications go into the IEP to help the student. Appraisal. Question 39. Your supervisor suggests that you give your client a Beck's Depression Inventory, BDI, test. This is A. Aptitude test. B. Intelligence test. C. Self-report test. D. Achievement test. C. Self-report test. Tests that measure criterion based on a patient's report are called self-report tests. The BDI does not measure aptitude, intelligence, or achievement. Question 40. Self-report tests like the BDI, A. Consistently and accurately measure its intended criterion regardless of internal or environment factors. B. Depend much on the present state of the person taking it. C. May not always be accurate. D. Both B and C. D. Both B and C. Self-report tests by their very nature make accuracy difficult. They can be useful tools to assess current symptoms, however, and can be administered multiple times to gauge changes, i.e., after several months in therapy or a certain amount of time on a new medication. Question 41. Which of the following is not considered a subjective test? A. Rorschach. B. TAT. C. WISC-3. D. None. All are subjective. C. WISC-3. The WISC-3 is an intelligence test, while the rest are subjective. Question 42. Ipsative measures. A. Compare traits within the same individual. B. Compare traits of people who took the assessment. C. Contrast traits with other personality factors. D. Show a client what needs to improve. A. Compare traits within the same individual. Ipsative measures are sometimes referred to as forced choice scale. When given two choices, the respondent needs to pick the one that's most preferred. Question 43. Personality tests or interest inventories measure A. Goals. B. Maximum performance. C. Typical performance. D. Academic potential. C. Typical performance. Typical performance shows how someone will perform on a regular basis. Maximum performance shows how someone will perform when exerting as much effort as possible, such as when a person is being observed. Question 44. Reliability tells A. If a test measures what it says it measures. B. How consistently a test measures an attribute. C. If the client can be trusted. D. Where the counseling process should focus. B. How consistently a test measures an attribute. Reliability is a key part of any assessment. The scale needs to provide consistent results over repeated measurements. If a test measures what it says it measures, the test has validity. Reliability and validity are independent of each other. A test can be both reliable and valid, reliable but not valid, or not reliable but valid. Research and program evaluation. Question 45. When you see the letter P in relation to a test of significance, it means A. Probability, B. Possibility, C. Positive, D. Psychoanalysis. A. Probability. Most researchers use a p-value of 0.05 as a cutoff for significance. If it is less than 0.05, the null hypothesis is rejected and it is concluded significance does not exist. Question 46. An operational definition, A. Is deductive logic. B. Can be measured on a Likert scale. C. Outlines a procedure. D. Describes the purpose of an experiment. C. Outlines a procedure. An operational definition is a detailed, clear, and concise definition of a measure used when data is being collected. If more than one researcher is setting out to measure the same conditions, they should be able to independently do so. In the case of measuring anxiety in college seniors, a researcher chooses to give the participants a 15-item questionnaire. The researcher's operational definition of anxiety for this study is the participant's score on the questionnaire. Question 47. Which of the following are not included as a concept in deductive reasoning? A. Minor premise. B. Obvious conclusion. C. Medium premise. D. Major premise. C. Medium premise. Aristotle discussed the use of a major premise, a related minor premise, and an obvious conclusion as a part of deductive reasoning. Question 48. Using deductive reasoning to gain knowledge has been called A. Qualitative research. B. Quantitative research. C. Syllogism. D. Cross-section research. C. Syllogism. Knowledge can be gained about a particular relationship by following downward from general to specific. For instance, in general, people with depression are sad. Sally is sad. Sally has depression. Question 49. Joni is a part of a research experiment monitoring energy level and depression. She becomes pregnant and tells you that she has been very fatigued. Her tiredness is A. A dependent variable. B. An intervening variable. C. A correlate. D. All of the above. B. An intervening variable. Intervening variables are variables that may alter the outcome of a research experiment. They are difficult to control for. Other examples include motivation and boredom. Question 50. A blank is a form of descriptive research and requires a return rate of 50 to 57% to be accurate. A. Case study. B. Observation. C. Survey. D. Analysis. C. Survey. There are three basic types of descriptive research: survey, observation, and case study. Conclusions from descriptive research cannot be drawn, thus no causal relationships can be determined. The survey requires 50 to 57% to be returned in order to be accurate. Thanks for watching Test.com's NCE Practice Test. For complete practice, try our full-length 800-question NCE Practice Exams Plus, including online flashcards, exam review, and a 50-state guide.